have a tremendous lineup for us tonight. Tonight is a little bit different than previous of our town halls. This is our third town hall, and it's a little bit different than previous ones in that rather than being conceptual, we are tying together our Black radical tradition and the concept of Black radicalism and abolitionism with how that actually looks on the ground. And so people have been hitting up Black Lives Matter, asking for information, asking about their stimulus check, asking about how do they not pay rent, and asking lots of questions that we just don't feel prepared to answer. And so what we did is get folks who can answer those questions. And so we have pulled in really some tremendous folks to be with us here tonight to talk about how do you file unemployment? How do you, can you just not pay rent and then you're guaranteed to not be evicted? Can you get, what supports are there for small businesses? Can you get support if you are self-employed? Those kinds of things are going to be what we're talking about tonight. Angela Gibson of the Greater Los Angeles African American Chamber of Commerce. Angela Gibson, if you could put a comment in so I can add you on. There's something happening, I believe, with Dr. Fairchild's settings that's not allowing me to add him, but if you could add a comment, put a comment, Angela Gibson. We're going to be talking about resources for small businesses. As we talked about with Sister Dominique, our small businesses are hurting. There are disaster loans that have been made available, and we want to make sure, there you are, we want to make sure that we have access to those. And so we're going to bring on Angela Gibson of the Greater Los Angeles African American Chamber of Commerce. Hey, Angela.
Hi,
it's
Melina.
been a minute. I'm
it
so
certainly
happy
has. Thank you for the invite.
Of course,
Great.
of course. Thank you for accepting. So, Angela Gibson, we're going to go a little bit more quickly because we only have about 20 minutes left.
Great.
You are with the Greater Los Angeles African American Chamber of Commerce, but I also want to lift up that Angela Gibson, like Angela Reddick Wright, and I are all met doing organizing work and leadership development for Black women with the Los Angeles African American Women's Chamber. I'm giving it a new name, merging name, Los Angeles African American Women's Public Policy Institute. So this is not just about, doing work to support businesses, but also conceptualizing. Your Black work is also about conceptualizing how businesses are necessary for Black communities. So you're grounded in Black community as well as Black business. So just very quickly, we know that Black businesses are hurting. We know that Black businesses don't always have the same resources and opportunities as majority-owned businesses. And so when we're talking about the impact, the economic impact of COVID-19 and the coronavirus, we really, really have to be thoughtful about how we support Black-owned businesses. What can you tell us about what's happening for Black-owned businesses and what resources are available?
Thank you for inviting me, and I'm glad to be able to come online and share these resources. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you great. We can hear you. We can hear you.
Yes?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So wanted to first begin by letting everyone know that this time last month, I also have a consulting firm, and business was booming. I was working with several public and private sector clients to get businesses of color, women-owned businesses, and veteran-owned businesses onto many of these infrastructure projects, the stadium, the airport, metro, and then there's also the wraparound services, the taxes, and other services that were needed to support this economy. And now all of a sudden, here we go, fast forward, and small businesses now are needing to dust off their disaster plans. and look for a route of recovery, if you will. And so it's important that our business owners focus on these 4 key areas: their personnel, their business operations, their supply chain, and their revenue. And I know that everybody's aware of the businesses that are open. Those are gas stations, pharmacy, food outlets, banks, and laundry services. And then what's closed is, of course, is the dine-in, restaurants, bars, and gyms. And then there are some businesses that are exempt from closure. And those are the infrastructure projects, media, agriculture, public safety, public health. I was going to start and give you the resources of the CARES Act for that. And let me come back to that last and instead share with you information at the local level, because a lot of that money is going to be given to alternative financial organizations. And there are also many counseling centers, too, that will help small businesses as they need to triage their finances. For instance, they're called CDFIs, and I'm going to give you the name of it, tell you a little bit about it, and then give you the website. The first one is the Vermont Slauson Economic Development Corporation, better known as VSEDC, and that's run by our good friend Joe Rouzan, who used to work with the city of Los Angeles, and now he is over there heading that up, the Vermont Slauson Economic Development Corporation. That website is VSEDC, Vermont Slauson Economic Development Corporation, vsedc.org/COVID-19. Then another resource for small businesses is PCR, better known as PCR. It's actually called the Pacific Coast Regional. And my good friend Mark Robinson serves as their director over there, and they will be able to help you with loans and grants for your business during this COVID-19 time. And they're located at PCR Corp, PCRCORP.org. And these organizations will be some of the recipients of some of this funding that's made available. And it's given to them, and they will have less stringent application criteria requirements than some of the banks and possibly even SBA. Also, another organization that's got funds to distribute is the Local Initiative Support Corporation. It's called LISC, L-I-S-C. And my good friend Tanua Drash is over there providing loans. She has a $2.5 million grant from Verizon. And so they're making grants available. And so all of these organizations, as I said, are in the process and are recipients, local CDFIs and local counseling centers that have money with less criteria than the regular banks. However, as a small business, I suggest you do reach a regular bank. And there's another resource here, CDC loans, not the CDC of the Control Disease Control, but it's CDC Small Business Loans. Of course, you can always go to GLAC's website. We have a ton of resources and links and resilience kits and webinars and videos, and that's GLAC, GLAAACC.org. You can also go to the LA Chamber, lachamber.org. They've got information for you. I'd also just like to suggest, as a small business, if you've got an insurance, pull that policy out, pull out all of the contracts that you have, gather your tax returns, triage your finances, communicate with your vendors, see what else your bank can offer you, what else they can offer you. And you're going to need to be persistent, because tomorrow, midnight tonight, the application portal opens for the big CARES Act, that Paycheck Protection Program. That's $350 billion that's been set aside to help small businesses with 100% guaranteed loans, because they want our small businesses to keep employees on the payroll. So again, that businesses can start applying. That's tomorrow, April 3rd. I suggest you start going on there. Anyone interested in that? They also will be sharing monies with 100 lenders in Los Angeles who will help them distribute that. So we want to make sure that we're there. There's other loans that are available with the SBA. The city of Los Angeles has a small business emergency microloan program. It's an $11 million program with loans from $5,000 to $20,000. The state of California has a California iBank, infrastructure bank. They have a small business loan guarantee program. And so they also are working with local lenders. So everybody's pushing that money out to these the smaller resources that I mentioned earlier. And so those are alternative locations that you can go, because as you can imagine, tomorrow when the Paycheck Protection Portal opens, that's going to be just swamped and filled, and everybody that has a business is going to be there. So I would say look for some local alternatives in the area to get some access. Also, the SBA, you also can possibly apply for some non-emergency, non-disaster loans at this time. If you might want to take a look and go online and see what the criteria is. And so, again, I just think that we just need to put our ducks in a row. Like I said, if you've got insurance, make sure your personnel, your operations, supply chain, and revenue have a business plan or a disaster plan wrapped around them. If you don't, now is a good time to put one in place. And so I've been online, the elected officials. I just got off a town hall with Maxine Waters. It was at 6 o'clock. Last week, Congresswoman Karen Bass had one. Lots of senators and assemblymen and local elected officials are having town halls. So that I would look on websites and look for those as resources, because to be able to reach out to their office, letting them know that you are a constituent of theirs, they'd be able to possibly give you that inside phone number and that real email address that can get you some support. Yes, and so that's kind of really basically the types of resources I wanted to share with your audience this evening. Thank you.
This has been great. Thank you so much for answering the call, for giving us so much information.
Absolutely.
One of the things that Dr. Fairchild is dropping in the comments is that this is nowhere near enough money. There's nowhere near enough resource. We know that, and we want to take advantage of everything that's there, because we know that one of the things that, as we celebrated the life of Nipsey Hussle just a couple days ago, one of the things that we have to remember is there is a difference between capitalism and cooperative economics, right? And so the tradition, the true black tradition, is cooperative economics. We know that black small businesses tend to contribute to the world, and the black community in particular, at much, much higher rates than those that are owned by non-black people. So we can think about places like, it was mentioned, Simply Wholesome, right? Simply Wholesome having a track record of hiring young black people and formerly incarcerated people. We can think about My 2 Cents, the restaurant down on Pico, doing the same thing. And so it's really important that we remember that when we're saying support black-owned business, we're not saying that we're investing heavily in a system of capitalism that keeps black people oppressed. We're saying invest in, spend with the businesses that value us and contribute to our community. So thank you so much for all those resources. Yes, Ujamaa is what Dr. Fairchild posted, right, the principle of cooperative economics. So thank you so much for being on. We're going to bring on Brother Damian Goodman. And so as we let Angela Gibson go, thank you again so much.